I don't know what they do in the water up there, but it seems like everybody from that area of South Jersey is gigantic.
Tonight's Chuck Smith Show, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service, is also brought to you by our loyal sponsors. Charlie's Bar and Restaurant, located at 800 Shore Road in Summers Point. Meet your friends at Charlie's at the shore since 44. Chico and Son Sub Shop, located at 1620 Tilton Road, Northfield. Choose the #1 sub shop in South Jersey. And the Docks Place, located at 646 Bay Avenue in Summers Point. Book your dinner reservations now at 609-926-0404. Thank you for your support of Mainland Regional Football.
But when you have a solid program, a lot of that can take over what an individual might do. Before he releases the ball, he takes a shot right as he releases it here. And for him to stand in there in the face of that, and that's just the confidence that he has. And like I found myself just trying to catch my breath for a bit because of the excitement and just the pressure of that moment. This is a game that the kids, you live for.
This is the Chuck Smith Show on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Now, here's Coach Smith and your host, Nick Kosko.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, and with me, as he is every week, is Mainland head coach Chuck Smith. Coach, tough week, or I would say tough week, tough weekend as you go into week number 3 here, 22-21 loss to Millville at your place. So we'll just dive right into it. You know, back and forth game, two very talented teams. I guess the records don't fully indicate what both teams are made of so far through 3 weeks. You know, very tough schedules, but we'll just start right there. Tough one coming down to the wire. Just your initial thoughts about this game from Friday night.
Yeah, Nick, you know, obviously it stung a little bit. You know, I love the way our team battled back. You know, we were down 6-0 at halftime, went down 14-7, I believe it was. Battled back, took the lead, had a chance to really cap the game off and seal the deal, and missed an opportunity. And Millville's too dangerous of a team to let linger around. And, you know, bit us in the rear end. Credit to them. They went for 2 for the win and got it, you know. But it was one of those things, like, you know, like you said, there's no rest for the weary in this schedule. So you kind of got to watch it, evaluate it, learn from it, which is a big one, and then move on right away. You got to get rid of it, get out of the system, because you got another big dog coming right up this week with Cherokee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys go to Cherokee at 6 o'clock on Friday. So another road game for you guys, just to, I guess, kind of break this one down before we get into some, you know, film breakdown as well. When you look at that, the first half was curious to me because you guys, at a certain point, after trading some defensive blows here from both sides, you guys were starting to efficiently move the football down the field. The goal line sequence happened where you had, I believe, all 4 plays were inside the 3-yard line. Game was tied at that point, 0-0. You guys looking to take the first lead of the game. Just what happened during that sequence, especially, I guess, during the latter plays where you saw Jake Blum take those direct snaps, and there was a pop pass at the end, and then ultimately Millville got the stop there. Yeah,
it was just a bad sequence of plays for us. We put in a heavy package, you know, bring in some other personnel, put, you know, our best athlete or quarterback there, and I think we had misread on 2 of the plays, you know, kind of fumbled a snap a little bit. And then we went for the jump pass at the end, which, you know, that was my call. Probably not a good call. That thing, Millville didn't really buy into it. We didn't sell it well enough either. But then, you know, it's one of those things, like, you don't seize an opportunity like that. And then what does Millville do? They go 99 yards and score. You know, so kind of like one of those things where we had an opportunity to do something for our benefit. And, you know, we didn't seize the opportunity, and Millville took advantage of it. Credit to them.
So as far as the remaining sequences were concerned, you mentioned the 6-0 lead at halftime. You guys bounced back, though, immediately. And I believe throughout the course of the entire game, 3 total turnovers forced by your defense. So a great defensive performance outside of a couple big plays. But when you look at that, I guess from a general sense, the bounce back from your team in that second half where everyone kind of woke up, and then you guys in Millville were just trading blow after blow, like a heavyweight fight at that point. Was there a message during the halftime locker room speech, or was it just like, hey, we're in this game, we're just going to start clicking at this point? What was the jump from the first half to the second half?
Yeah, we made a couple little adjustments like you always do at halftime. I think it was more like, you know, we have an opportunity here. We're in this game. You know, we can't squander these opportunities like we did at the goal line there. You know, not to get 3 yards in 4 plays is very disappointing. You know, it can be deflating too. But, you know, the kids hung their, you know, came out. battled in that second half, put us in a position to win the game. It was a great second half. If you're a football fan, it's probably, so exciting going back and forth, and Millville just made one more play than we did.
We'll look at some of the highlights now to break down some of the films. The first play we'll look at is in that second half, this fumble forced right here. Luke Kerrigan jumps on, and this guy to get back into the game, Coach, considering, Millville had the ball first, start the third quarter, and all of a sudden you guys are in plus territory.
Yeah. I mean, our defense came up big at times against Millville, very dangerous offense with the weapons that they have and the quarterback play. And, when you get an opportunity like this, I think the kids realize, we missed one in the first half, and this was another opportunity. You can't keep missing opportunities like this. And I think they really, were determined to make sure they got the ball in the end zone in that series.
So not right after that, I should say, but you guys take the 7-6 lead. Millville ends up taking the lead back, and they got the 2-point conversion after they failed on their PAT attempt earlier in the game. So you guys are down 14-7, but then you responded right here. John Franchini, I feel like he's been using his legs a lot more, and I feel like a staple of your offense has been more of these RPOs and these quarterback keepers, I should say, for Johnny.
Well, I think every year you got to evolve your offense a little bit. We're still a spread wing T team, as everybody knows, but we've added a couple little dimensions to it this year. Johnny being a little bit more of a runner in the offense this year. I thought in the second half we ran the ball extremely well against Millville, inside and outside. And, I thought we were moving the ball, keeping the time of possession on our side, and keeping their offense off the field. And, the kids came back and tied the score right there, which was, a huge momentum shift also.
You mentioned running the football very effectively. This next play was Chase Hoag's touchdown run from 28 yards out. Just great outside blocking, and pretty much a staple of your offense we've seen over the last few years.
Yeah. We pride ourselves on our perimeter blocking and spend a lot of time doing that. And Chase just makes a great play here. We get a couple good seal blocks here, and Chase is a football player and makes a couple good reads and cuts. And he's deceptive because he's a little bit of a smaller guy, very compact, but it's got great speed on him too. And that was a drive that was a great drive, too, where we drove right down the field on them. And, we're going inside and outside, had them really off balance on it. And we're fortunate to take a lead right there, a big lead in the fourth quarter.
So before we get into the last play, your last long drive before the drive where you guys were trailing by one, where it was pretty much, I believe, maybe one first down, or it was a quick drive with less than a minute to go. But when you look at that long, efficient drive towards the end of the game, you guys are set up for I believe it was a 25-yard field goal. Unfortunately for you guys, it was missed, so that gave Millville a shot right there. What was clicking during that drive, and then ultimately what happened with that last kick where you saw Nate Cashy just push it just to the right?
Yeah, I think, we're moving the ball down the field. We're being very efficient, running the football and taking the time off the clock. We had the ball in the lead, and that's what you want late in the fourth quarter. And the kids did a great job of staying in bounds and protecting the football and getting on the blocks and playing tough. And we got down there, and I think it was 4th and 3, something like that. And look at the scoreboard, we're up by 7. I figured, hey, we got one of the best kickers, and we kick a field goal. That's 2 scores they have to get now. And they had no timeouts left, and I think it was under 2 minutes left in the game. And we decided to go for the field goal. And, the snap was a little off, but AJ Gockler got it on the tee. And, unfortunately, our kicker just pushed it a little right on it and gave Millville the ball at the 20-yard line with less than 2 minutes.
And before we get into that play, what can you say about AJ Gallagher? I wanted to bring him up because I know Jake Blum was lost in this game to injury, and I believe you said he was going to be day-to-day leading up to Friday's game. But he stepped in at wide receiver and corner, and he was pretty much next man up, even at holder too. So what can you say about him stepping up in a big spot there?
Yeah, we've really asked a lot out of him being a sophomore starting. He's a good athlete. I think the future is really bright with him as he grows, matures, puts on a little bit more weight and some muscle and so forth, and gets that playing experience. But he's getting a lot of experience this year, on both sides of the football, and he hasn't cowered away from any of it. Jake goes down, he becomes the punt returner, kickoff returner. He's rotating in at offense at slot receiver, and he's starting at corner for us. Mm-hmm. And Jake being out, all of a sudden he has to come in and hold for the PATs and field goals. So it's a lot on your plate as a sophomore. A lot of sophomores, you only try to play on one side of the ball unless they're really special. And I think AJ has the potential to be really special down the road.
Without a doubt. So let's look at that final play. Millville's would be the go-ahead touchdown here. Just a simple, throw from Robbie O'Connor, and the receiver gets behind the defense here. What exactly happened here on this play?
Yeah, they just ran a little skinny post over top of us, and I think we were a little bit out of position alignment-wise before the ball was even snapped, which caught us off guard also. And, credit to them. They needed a big play, and they made it right away. It's a real quick way to cover 80 yards. And, in hindsight, maybe we should have been in a different coverage, but you can bite yourself in the butt all night long, second guessing yourself on everything. But hey, they made the play, and credit to them. It seems like every time when we did something the other night, they responded, they deserved to win. They made one more play than we did.
So a little bit more adversity for you guys earlier in the season than you've been used to over the last couple of years, having won 3 straight sectional titles, including a state championship just a couple of years ago. What was the, it's a little bit different than after a win, obviously, and considering this is the second loss already of the season. What was the message to the team on Saturday and just the mood at practice now leading up to where it's like, all right, we need to get back into gear a little bit, maybe clean up some things where, we don't want to put ourselves in that same type of situation again.
Yeah, I think it was really looking at the film and just looking at the missed opportunities we had, not scoring 1st and goal from the 3-yard line in the first half, them getting the ball on the 1-yard line and then going 99 yards. Not many teams in high school can drive a football field, and, not being able to bottle them up and get the ball back, is another missed opportunity. The field goal thing, a couple little big 3rd down plays that they connected on. It was just little things like that, but, in hindsight, when you look at that, I can, as I've gotten older, not that you ever accept defeat, but, when the kids play hard, you can kind of accept it a little bit better, if that's such a thing.
Yeah.
And the kids battled. They never quit during the game, even when things were against us a little bit and they went up 14-7 and stuff like that. I think our guys, battled back and were determined. They showed that. They fought all the way till the end of the football game. That's all you can ask, is for them to battle and put you and us to put them in a position to be successful as coaches. And, we just got to fine tune a couple little things here and there, and I think we'll be okay.
Do you and the coaches and your players find, as you put it, you don't really want to accept defeat, and, if it's easier, okay. But when you look at a game like that, it's little things, you guys take it, and maybe this is the wrong word, maybe the right word. Do you guys take solace in that, knowing that, okay, it's just these little things that we know we can do right, we have done right in the past, it just didn't work for us on Friday, but we know if we just click on these things this week and on Friday night against Cherokee, you'll be on the plus side of things?
I think every week I go in there and our goal is always to get better than we were the previous week. And that's the thing. You hope that you are getting better and the kids are learning. If you're still going over the same stuff a few weeks later, then something's not right. Either they're not getting it or messages and being clear with our coaching. But, I think when you're sitting in there in the film session, of course, you're still stinging from the loss because of how we lost that game. But at the same time, I think there were probably way more positive comments than the negative comments during the film session. Did we point some things out that could have been done better or correctly, or simple mistakes that, the kids see, and that's why you film it, because the film doesn't lie. But at the same time, we were just as positive, pointing out all the good plays and all the good things the kids did also. So, when you leave there, you kind of want to learn from the experience, but at the same time, flush it and forget about it and turn that page right away, because, it comes up on you quick.
Mm-hmm. So when you look at what Cherokee is bringing to the table this coming Friday, you guys pretty much handled them at your place last year. Again, last year's different team for both sides. They're 2-1 this year, but they're also coming off a tough loss as well. They played St. Augustine Prep, 35-0 loss. And obviously, we'll talk about St. Augustine Prep next week, but they're looking like an absolute wrecking ball right now. So when you look at what Cherokee has done so far through 3 games, kind of similar to last week, where I'm asking you, do you look at last year's film at all? And I know they bring back a good amount of guys they had for their 2024 squad. Are you looking at last year's film? Or are you kind of sticking to what you've seen so far on tape this year? What are the initial preparations here for the Cherokee Chiefs on Friday?
Yeah, you always look at last year's film just to look at it, see the guys that were still on the team, look at what they did to you last year and what you did to them. There's going to be adjustments. Coaches are smart. But you really got to dive into what they do this year, because every team changes. Your personnel changes, maybe the coaches change, and you change your schemes a little bit here and there. But Cherokee's a great program, a very rich tradition program. They've won multiple sectional titles and so forth. And I don't know what they do in the water up there, but it seems like everybody from that area of South Jersey is gigantic, and they always have big kids on their football team. And it's a really cool place to play. You're down that pit at the stadium there. And, it's just a unique experience. But they're having a good run. They're 2-1. They beat a very good and physical Middletown South team in the first game of the season, a tight game. And then they beat Lenape, a game that was like they really took off a nice lead against them. And Lenape came back a little bit too late on it. And, of course, they faced St. Augustine Prep last week, and they kind of got, the Prep had their way with them to a degree. And that's always a tough thing, too, because after a team comes off a tough loss, they're always wanting to prove something, too, and they have us at home this year. And, of course, whatever happened last year, I'm sure that still sometimes you dwell on, hey, this is what happened last year, and you want to get a get back because you don't know when you're going to play these guys again, because the divisions will get realigned again, and they're a Group 5 school and we're a Group 3 school. So you might not play them again for a while, so it's the last chance to get back at somebody. But they're a good team. Obviously they have a great quarterback, a great athlete who I think is going to Tennessee to play baseball. Played quarterback against us last year, but he's as good as he is at throwing the football. He's just as good at running the football. They always have big line play, which they do again. The running backs, there's two different running backs. They have this kid number 20 who's real fast and has great vision, very patient runner. And then they have a bulldozer number 23 who, doesn't have all the speed in the world, but is strong as an ox. And you really got to, put an effort to tackle this kid because you're not going to bring him down, one arm tackle or grab him by his jersey and swing him down, and they're aggressive on defense. They move around a lot, keep you guessing on defense. And, they're a good football team, a good program. And, coming off what I guess you would say is a down season last year for Cherokee football, they're looking to come back and make a statement this year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about their offense, starting with the quarterback you mentioned, Cooper Birdie, who is, depending on what service you look at, the number one baseball player in the state of New Jersey, and he is going to Tennessee. So quite the athlete already, only a junior, but because of that athleticism, he is a bit of a dual threat quarterback. I believe he's a lefty, if I remember correctly, as well. So, so when you look at, I guess, to throw that into the equation, not only is he a lefty quarterback, gives you a different look, but he is a dual threat. With what you have faced so far this season, and obviously compared to last week with Millville, where a guy like Robbie O'Connor, a good pocket passer, now Birdie gives you that dual threat thing to worry about there. How does your defense prepare for an offense like this, where Cherokee they want to run the football as well? They're like you guys; they really want to ground and pound and really try to beat you up front. What are the initial preparations for your defense against this Cherokee offense?
They're a run first team. I mean, I think teams that go far in the playoffs usually are a run-first team because when the weather changes, you got to be able to take care of the football. And a lot more goes wrong in the passing game. But our Achilles heel this year has been a little bit of our passing defense. That's no surprise to anybody. I mean, we've been really working hard this past week and the week before, really trying to shore that up and get better at our coverages and passing defense. Everybody just wants to blame the D-backs all the time. It's not just that. We also have to get a good rush on the quarterback too. You can't just let any quarterback, let alone great quarterbacks at this level, sit back there and have time. They're going to find somebody at some point in time, no matter how good you are on that back end of your defense. But we really got to come forward and obviously stop the run first, and we got to make sure we can contain their quarterback. He's a dual threat guy where, if he doesn't like it or he's rolling out, he's going to take off and go too, so you really have to keep that in mind when you're scheming against their offense.
Brendan Markovsky is their running back, the junior. Again, he's already tearing up on the ground, almost 400 yards through 3 games, 6 touchdowns. So he's another guy that you already alluded to having to watch out for. On the flip side of things for your offense, going up against a very big defense. You already said that before. Whatever's in the water up there, it seems like they just have giant linemen pretty much year to year, even going back to when I was in high school as well, when I was at EHT and we played Cherokee a handful of times. Very talented linebackers. I believe one of their linebackers is a freshman who's already getting in, high on the stat sheet as well. What do you see from the Cherokee defense?
Yeah, they're aggressive. They get off the ball real well in their front three. They mix up their fronts. They play like a 3-3 stack, and then they go into what I always consider like a 4-4. They've done that every game. They're consistent with it. So we're preparing for both things as we get going. But they fly through the football. They're well coached. You could tell just by watching them in their stances and how they react to the ball and so forth. We got to bring the A game. I mean, every week, in this division, you got to be ready. There's no week off, and even your crossover games aren't weeks off. So we just got to come in there and ready to play. If we play the way we played in the second half of Millville, we'll put ourselves in a position to have a chance to win this game. But we got to play like that the whole game.
Yeah, I'll kind of wrap it up right there. When you look at getting this team in gear early, I feel like compared to the first half last week, your defense played pretty well, again, forcing turnovers and really limiting Millville aside from the one long drive. But when you try to get the offense going early, you think that's really your guys' key, where if you guys are running the football very efficiently, punching in the end zone, couple scores here and there, and really honing in on defense, you guys can ultimately control the game from the get-go?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, any good football program, when you're running the football, then you're controlling the clock, you're controlling possession, you're all that, and if your defense doing a good job and giving you more opportunities, that's just bonus material right there. So I think, obviously both teams will come out and run the football, but I think, for us to be successful Friday night, we're going to have to play a great all-round game. We haven't done that yet this season. We played a great first half against Hamilton. We played a great second half, for the most part, against Millville. Now we got to put it together and play 4 quarters.
Is there something different? I'll leave you here with this one. Is there something different that you did at practice as far as, trying to maintain that consistency, or is it pretty much the same message? And it's like, hey, we're doing all these things right. We know what we're doing wrong. We just have to actually, not shoot ourselves in the foot, so to speak, early on. Is that pretty much what you're trying to get across?
Yeah, it's really about seizing the opportunities. And, we've had great pace in our practices. That even today was a great practice for us. And we've kind of scaled back practice. We're only 3 games into the season. We took off a half-hour practice time. We got a lot of guys going 2 ways, and we don't need to bang them all up and have them all beat up for Friday night. So we kind of look back, and we kind of emphasize on that this past week of just taking some time off. I mean, if we don't know how to tackle and block by now, we're in trouble. But we still work on those things all the time, the technique of it and all that stuff. But we don't have to spend as much time, I think, we just got to put it all together. That's the thing. I think if we can put it all together, maybe we can make some noise this season and win some of these games down the stretch here.
Seizing the opportunity and putting it all together. That's the message for Friday night, 6:00 at Cherokee. That's where Mainland's headed. And then, of course, returning home next Thursday against St. Augustine Prep, where we'll have that game on Cape Atlantic Live. So, Coach, good luck on Friday. Looking forward to talking to you again next week. We'll see about seizing the opportunity. Hopefully a full 4-quarter performance out of you guys. And, again, should be another great game against a very talented program like Cherokee.
Thanks, Nick. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live is presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. We'll see you next time.